Hi, I'm Ken Gutman, Superintendent of Walled Lake Schools. With the tragedy at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, once again, our safety and security awareness has been heightened. Safety is the #1 priority in Walled Lake Schools. We monitor and review our safety protocols with staff and students regularly. We will continue these efforts along with continuous communication with our incredible local law enforcement officials. On a happier note, I'm proud of all the learning that takes place in schools every day. Often I witness thought-provoking student dialogue that demonstrates our students know how to communicate their ideas, persuade others with factual information, and explain processes. High-order thinking is and always has been a critical skill for our students in their classes, in the real world, and in the many exams they're asked to take. Speaking of exams, tests, I'm so very proud to have the opportunity to introduce you to Walled Lake Schools has 5 high school students who earned a perfect score on their ACT. First, let me explain that all of our high school students take the SAT, called the Suite of Assessments by the College Board. SAT is the state high school test, but many students elect to also take the American College Test, or the ACT. Both of these tests are rigorous, and there's even daily practice apps and a variety of online sample tests and study guides to help students perform well. On the ACT, 34 and up is the 99th percentile. So if you score 34 or higher, you're in the top 1% of test takers. In the class of 2017, more than 2 million students took the ACT in the United States. Of that 2 million students, only 2,760 students got a perfect 36. The next highest score of a 35, only 12,000 students. Unsurprisingly, a perfect score, a 36, is the rarest score of all. Just 0.136% of all test takers earned a perfect ACT score. In Walled Lake Schools annually, we have 1 or 2 students earn a perfect 36, but this year, again, we have 5 students with a perfect 36. Let me begin by introducing you to Geethika Bodanapu, a Walled Lake Central High School junior who plans to study pre-medicine sciences. Welcome, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Were you surprised you earned a perfect score on the ACT? I mean, did it just completely surprise you, or did you plan on it?
I had been studying a lot, like practicing at home and everything, and I guess I knew I was gonna do well, but like 36, like the final number, like it did surprise me. Like I did that well, you know.
When you walked out, I know sometimes if you take a test or you interview for a job, you walk out and start second guessing everything. Mm-hmm. Did you walk out feeling like it was really easy? Or did you walk out thinking, oh, I might have gotten this one wrong or that one wrong?
I think I did have a couple questions where I was like, not so sure, but I knew that like I tried my best and I couldn't have like done it any other way. So yeah, I was like, it's done. I took the test and I feel good. So yeah.
And you should.
Yeah.
And you should. So for a lot of students, I know my son included, we start looking at the ACT, the SAT, all of that. What are your test taking tips?
I would say to really practice without any distractions. If you're gonna really study for it, be focused, be determined, and have small goals and really work towards them, and eventually they'll like really build up, and you really will be surprised with the result.
So it's really not the last second studying for the exam,
no.
right? You actually need to spend a little time before that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. In Walled Lake Schools and all of your time here, what have been some of your good experiences, and are there any teachers you'd like to give a shout out to and thank?
I would actually like to thank my French teacher, Mrs. Adkins. I've known her since 8th grade. She's been my French teacher since 8th grade. And so I actually started studying since 8th grade, like a long time. And she has been with me like throughout like the past like 3-4 years. And like every year, like I always give her an update of like how my studying's going and everything. So the day that I found out, she was obviously one of the people that, she was one of my teachers that I told, and she was just as happy as I was. She was jumping up and down. She was super excited. So I would like to thank her.
That's really nice of you too. Thank you for doing that. I'm sure she'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
So the long-term goal is medicine, and what would you like to do with that?
I don't exactly know what specific I want to do in the field, but I love science. I love helping people. I find life sciences really interesting. So I'm hoping that once I go off to college, I'll have an idea of what exactly I would like to do specifically, but for now it's just kind of medicine, and we'll see where that goes.
Fine, I have a feeling you'll do very well.
Thank you.
It was really a pleasure having you here today.
Thank
you,
you.
Geethika, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
You bet. I'd like to introduce you now to Megan Coden, a Walled Lake Central junior who plans to study chemistry. So were you surprised at all that you earned a perfect score?
I was actually shocked. After I took the ACT, I didn't think I did that well to earn a 36 at all, so it was a really nice surprise.
But when you walked out, didn't you think, I did really well, or did you think the test was easy, or did you think it was hard?
I thought the test was hard compared to like practice tests I had done. A few of the sections were pretty easy, but like the math and science sections I thought were pretty hard.
Well, apparently not. Apparently other people thought they were hard, but you did really well, and that's outstanding. What about those students? And I know all of our students watch the show, right? You've seen it a million times, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So of all the students who will watch it, what are your test-taking tips? What advice do you have for them?
I think the best advice I can give is to do a bunch of practice timed sections, because it's really hard to get the timing down, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And then you're also able to like see the types of questions the ACT test makers will ask, so it makes it a little bit easier.
Okay, and again, not waiting till the last minute, probably spending a little time in advance.
Yeah.
How many courses did you take?
I actually didn't take any
You never took a prep
tutoring.
course, you just...
I did it myself with a book at home.
Wow, that's really impressive. That's really good.
Thanks.
So your experience in Walled Lake Schools, how long have you been in the district?
Since kindergarten.
Since kindergarten. How's it been? What have been your experiences?
Yeah, I've really liked the Walled Lake Schools. It's a great district.
I'd love to hear you say that. What teacher or teachers would you like to just say thank you to?
There's not like any one teacher in particular. I really liked all my teachers, so. Yeah.
All right, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. I'm sure they appreciate that. And so, what do you plan on doing with the degree in chemistry?
I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm really interested in chemistry and science in general, so I'm thinking of going into research. I really want to do something that I feel like makes a difference, and I feel like maybe helping try to cure a disease or something like that. I'm not sure.
Well, I'm sure we would all appreciate if you cured one. So thank you for doing that, Megan. It's so nice to meet you. Congratulations on your score, and I appreciate you spending a little time with me today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'd like to introduce you to Ramya Ganapali, a Walled Lake Central senior who plans to study neuroscience, psychology, and business. Why not? So, Ramya, were you surprised to earn a perfect score?
I was incredibly shocked. I remember walking out of the test that day, getting to my mom's car and saying, maybe another try. I didn't feel confident at all when I left the test, and then the day I got my score, it was like 5 a.m. My friend texted me saying, oh my God, the ACT scores are out. So I go on my computer and I scream as loud as I can, because I didn't expect it. It was super surprising to me.
So you walked out and thought it was easy or hard? Or?
Oh, I thought it was the most difficult test I've ever taken. I had to take a lot of practice tests beforehand to kind of get prepared for it, but oh, it was bad. I just remember thinking, oh, maybe I should have studied a little harder.
Wow, I can't imagine what would happen if you did.
Yeah.
Did you get a 37?
Maybe 37.
Maybe. So, as you know, we always look to see what we can do to help other students, because of course we would expect everyone to get a 36. What test-taking tips do you have for other students?
I think the most thing I can say is that practice, and I know a lot of people say it, but I think it's about sitting down, taking the time out of your day to practice, not just squeezing it in when you can. I mean, if you can, that's great, but it's really setting aside time in your schedule to practice, and then doing it months before, not just like the day before the test.
Okay, that's
Cramming
good to
doesn't
know.
work.
That's good to know. Now, do you cram for tests in your classes?
You know, I try not to, but with the high school schedule, sometimes it happens.
Sometimes it does happen. I'm sure you're doing well, though. So, Walled Lake Schools, you've been here a while.
Yep.
What's your experience been?
The experience has been amazing. I've grown so much, not only as a student, but as a leader here. I've had so many teachers who've grown me academically, like Miss Banjan and Miss Look from my science departments, and then so many more teachers who have taught me to be a leader and to be a collaborator. Like I have my student activities advisor, Miss Matusik, Miss Gresh, Madame Green, and then my favorite teacher, not that I don't know if I say that, but Mr. Schumacher.
That's great.
He's believed in me throughout my high school experience, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm sure they all appreciate you mentioning their names, because I know they'll watch this. Of course they do.
Of course.
Of course they do. So, after school, 3 science topics? Well, 2 science topics
Yeah.
in business. What do you want to do with all that?
I'm hoping to go into the medical field.
Okay.
So I've been volunteering recently at a hospital, and I learned a lot about the oncology program there. And I've known since I was younger that I'm really interested in kids, even though I am a kid. So I'm hoping to be a pediatric oncologist, but it's going to take a while.
It'll take a little while,
Yeah.
but it'll be worth it.
It'll
Well, I
be
wish
worth
you
it.
nothing but the best. I
Thank
congratulate
you.
you on your score, and I
Thank you.
appreciate that you spent some time here with me today,
Of
Ramya.
course.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have the pleasure of introducing you to Sam Frank, a Walled Lake Northern High School junior who'd like to study astrophysics. Sam, welcome. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Perfect 36 score. The scores come, You look at them, were you surprised, or were you just, you knew you had a 36?
I was very surprised, actually. I had no clue I was going to get a 36. I walked out of the testing room and I told my dad, maybe 33, 34, which is a fine score, but I was not expecting perfect by any means.
Did you find any parts of the test difficult?
You know, the math section, actually, I was told that my math section was a harder section than normal, and there's actually quite a substantial curve on it. But, you know, it wasn't, nothing was too difficult in terms of what we've learned in school. We've all covered it before.
So the curriculum's good here in Walled Lake Schools is what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
Or something like that. Good. So Sam, we have a lot of students who I know watch this show religiously. It's what they do, right? They sit down on the YouTube, right? So what tips do you have for them in terms of studying?
You know, it's always hard for me when people ask me that question because like I said, I didn't know that I got a 36. So I don't really know what to tell them. I did a practice exam and I scored it, and I sort of looked over the scored essays online, and I kind of took some notes, but really I just went in there, had a good night's sleep, a good breakfast. You're not gonna learn all the material on the ACT the night before the test. You've probably already learned it. So at that point, you just have to really hone your test-taking skills more than anything.
Well said. Well said. That's good. That's really good advice. You've been in Walled Lake Schools for how long?
Since kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Okay. What schools?
Commerce Elementary, Clifford Smart Middle School, and then Walled Lake Northern.
So of those schools, what's your experience been? Has it been a good experience? Are there any teachers you'd like to thank, or they did a good job and you're really impressed? Or?
Oh, absolutely, I would. I absolutely have to thank my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Burton, my favorite teacher, and then of course Mrs. H at Walled Lake Northern, the band teacher, and of course marching band has been an experience for me. Geez, I'm drawing a blank. You know, if I think of any more, I'll shout them out.
We'll just reshoot this whole thing if you think of more. How's
Okay.
that? All right. What do you want to do with a degree in astrophysics?
Well, I'd like to be a professor of astrophysics.
Okay.
And because that way, I really love to teach, and I think that would be amazing to have my own classroom and to, pass my knowledge. But then also, if you're a professor, you can do your own research, sort of, and do your own thing. And so I think that'd be great. I've wanted to be a professor since I was in elementary school. Really.
Already, you're all set. You know what you're doing, right? All right. Well, listen, it's been such a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations on your perfect score. Regardless of what you thought walking out of the room, you did just fine.
Thank you.
And I wish you nothing but best of luck in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have the pleasure of introducing you to Jacob Cohen, a Walled Lake Northern High School senior who plans to study history and English and then go to law school. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank
you
you for
bet.
having me.
Were you surprised at all that you got a 36 on the ACT?
When I went on my phone and opened up the score, I was totally shocked. I stood facing my mirror for a few seconds just in total disbelief. But I walked out of the test thinking it was a possibility because I had already taken it once. And so I knew what it felt like because I got a 35 the first time.
Okay.
And so I knew what it felt like to get a certain amount wrong, and I knew it felt better than it did the first time. So I wasn't totally surprised that I got the score. It was just seeing it as an actual thing that happened.
Sure.
Surprised me for
So
sure.
what made you decide to take it again after 35?
It was a combination of wanting to see if I could get a perfect score, and then it's one of those things where I wanted to do every little thing that I could for college admissions.
Sure.
So I didn't want to leave a card on the table. So if I'm applying to an Ivy League school, they're saying oh well, there's a kid that has everything that you have and 1 point higher. I didn't want that to be a possibility.
Good for you. That's some perseverance. That's outstanding that you chose to do that. A lot of people watch this show. Very popular show. It's right up there at the top of the Nielsen ratings, if they still have those. So what tips do you have for students who are watching in terms of test-taking skills?
It's kind of like what Sam said earlier, where it's really difficult to give someone a tip. You know everything or almost everything on that test. If you've gone in math through pre-calculus, you know everything in the math portion. It's just about getting the knowledge onto the paper at the right time. So it's all about test-taking strategies and not stressing out. Because while you're taking the test, it's really easy for people to over-stress and to think, I got that one wrong, now I'm gonna get this one wrong, and I'm gonna get this one wrong. And the most important thing is just to stay calm and just go question by question.
How did you get yourself to stay calm?
I've always been able to stay calm, like while I'm taking tests. It's never been something that was a challenge for me. I just remember that I definitely got these 10 right. And so this one question isn't gonna make or break me. Let's try to break it down and see if I can get the right answer. If I can't, on to the next one.
Okay.
And I'll get it there, and I'll probably find another 10 questions that I just know I got right.
Great, great. You've been at Walled Lake Schools a while.
Yeah.
How's your experience been, and are there any teachers you'd like to thank?
Definitely some teachers I need to thank. I've been here since kindergarten. My second grade teacher, Mrs. Smith, definitely deserves a special recognition from me. And it's partially academic. She was the first teacher. She made me read fiction because I only read nonfiction. And that was like the first time I started to like blossom as a reader. And then she also did a bunch of like help me personally more than anything. And I couldn't thank her enough for that. And then Mrs. H, the band director, I've had her for 4 years. She had a massive impact on me. And then it would take too long for me to name all like the teachers I've had in high school that have had massive impacts on me. So I'm not going to go into that.
Sure. So you want to have a law degree eventually.
Yeah.
What area of law would you like to pursue?
Civil rights, civil liberties.
And what draws you to that?
It's a feeling that, one, I really don't want to be like a criminal justice trial lawyer because it turns me off the idea of my win being getting a potentially guilty person off of
It's admirable. Yeah.
off of like the bar kind of thing.
Sure.
And then I didn't really think that was specifically what I was going to go into until a few months ago, and it suddenly just clicked for me that my win, which is kind of a big thing for me, would be like making a real change, and I could make big changes for people that really need it, and so that would be the ultimate goal.
Well, I look forward to seeing great things from you. I congratulate you on your perfect score, your perseverance to take it again after a 35, when I think a lot of people would say this is great, and it is great. 36, wow, just congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Best of luck to you in everything you do, and thank you for spending a little time with me.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a nice
We have so many bright students who are going to be the true change agents for our world. It's really impressive to have had the opportunity to meet and talk to 5 of them. Students in Walled Lake Schools are well-rounded. They participate in a host of clubs, activities, athletics, performing arts, and they rarely leave Walled Lake Schools without becoming involved in philanthropic activities where they get an opportunity to make a difference for others. I'm proud to have Nancy Catulla, Walled Lake Central teacher, who rarely misses an opportunity to give students a chance to help others, with me today. You are the face of so much community service at Walled Lake Central. Why?
Well, it actually started 4 years ago. I had a sick dog, and I had taken him outside. And it was that time, that winter, where we had a bunch of snow. It was like 13 inches of snow, negative 25 degrees. And I was in my nightgown with a jacket on, and my door froze, and I couldn't get back in my house. And so I was in a panic. My dog was like, get me in the house. And so I'm holding on him, trying to figure out how I was going to get in my house. And I told the kids the story the next day. And I said to them, I just can't imagine being homeless and being outside and that cold. And then we were talking about it and talking about how lucky we are and what we have. And I said to them, you know, does anybody want to help me collect some blankets for the homeless? And 9 students throughout my day said they did. And before I knew it, we had over 1,200 blankets to donate. And that little group of 9 students has turned into the Giving Tree. And we now have 75 to 100 active members. And it's electrifying. So they encourage me, I encourage them, and it turns into a great event.
Talk about Fleece and Thank You.
So Fleece and Thank You, we met Nicholas Kristock at PB&J Outreach a few years back, and he came up to us and said, well, you're doing so many great things. Would you like to be part of Fleece and Thank You? And he's young, and seeing a young person getting so involved and being so excited about anything that's giving back made me more excited. So we decided to get together with Fleece and Thank You, and what they do is they have blanket kits that you make a blanket with, like the fleece tie blankets, and then you make a personalized video. So the patient who's in the hospital, the little warrior, gets a blanket with a personalized video. They can see who made the blanket, and then they can actually send you a video back.
Wow, that is so touching and so meaningful. Not just the people who receive the blankets, but the spirit of giving from those who are making them.
Right.
You've affected so many kids. Just in their participation in doing this, what do they say about their experience with this?
Well, it's always the excitement, and the excitement that they have, again, makes me want to do more. But I think what says it all is when they email me over the summer and say, I just volunteered at Fleece and Thank You, or I was at PBA&J Outreach last Saturday morning, or I grabbed a bunch of books and donated them to Holy Redeemer in Detroit for the kids there. So I think that speaks even more than the excitement, because we're all excited when we're doing something,
Sure.
but it's what we do after the fact, what we do after the excitement's gone. And my hope for them, I always tell them, if you do good, good will come. And my father taught me that, and that's something that I've always lived by. And whether it's the CASA group that I sponsor or whether it's Giving Tree, I tell them no matter what, we're doing good, because if you do good, good will come. And
your father was wise, and obviously
Yeah.
you're living that. You're living that daily.
I try.
Well, clearly. So talk about You Matter Week and your evaluation of that whole process and whether we should do that again as a district.
I think You Matter was so important on so many levels. And I got to see a lot of it because CASA kids and Giving Tree kids were involved, but it was a grassroots that the kids took charge of. And that's important because a lot of times it's the teachers playing the role, it's the teachers taking charge. The kids did it, the kids wanted to do it. Shout out to Carson Biederman because she's amazing.
Absolutely.
And so she, her fire and her energy sparked a lot of kids' interest, and the students were able to get together, which I think is important. I also think it was vital that all the clubs got together. It wasn't just student council, or it wasn't just Giving Tree, or it wasn't just a diversity forum or a diversity group getting together. We all were there on Sunday putting, decorating our school and making it so that when the kids walked in on Monday, they knew that they mattered. And I just think it's something that every student should feel like they matter, and every adult should feel like they matter. And I think sometimes, I know we live by every child every day, but sometimes life happens, and maybe we miss that child that really needed us. And if we take one day out of the school year to let every single child know that they matter that day, that's nothing in comparison to what it could help.
So you're a proponent of doing it again, I take.
100%.
I just wanted to double check.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I was able to attend some of the sessions, and I could see relationships developing in ways, and people need to know you care. Mm-hmm. And that it was a strong feeling. What about the relationships during that between and among teachers and students? Did you feel that strengthened some relationships as well?
I think so too. I do. The day that we actually watched videos in my classroom, we had a powwow, and kids who really don't talk to me, I mean, I talk to all my kids whether they like it or not, but the kids who really hadn't opened up to me by then, they were saying things to me that they would have never said to me. So I had a student who said, I was really shy, and when I came to this school, I really didn't know anybody, and I kind of felt like if I said anything, people would make fun of me. And so we were able to talk about that, and we were able to talk about how he's improved and how he knows that people care about him. And we were also, within my group, because it's a lower level class that I had at that time, level 2, we were able to talk about, well, what does it look like when people care about you? Because just because I don't like the way you behaved yesterday and I had to talk to you about that, you know that I care about you. And so what does that look like? Is it different than just somebody hates me? Because, I think we as a society use that a lot. Oh, so-and-so hates me, or so-and-so just doesn't like me. But we talked about differentiating, that I can care about you and I can love you, but I might not like your behavior, and I care about you enough to address it with you. And so that was what I thought was really important. Another take back from that is that kids realized, because they were able to talk to their teachers, because we never get a chance to really do that, right? It's all academic, moving on. That day we had permission to just stop and be us with our kids, and I thought that really made a difference.
That's great. Thanks, Nancy. Thank you for everything you do. I don't know if you know how much of a difference you make. Having seen you teach and knowing what you do outside of the classroom, you change lives. You change kids' lives, and you probably change some staff members' lives as well. I know we're all impressed with you. I'm just so thankful for what you do, and thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
There is always so much happening in all of our schools. Please make sure you read the district parent updates, your school newsletters, and access the district website and social media. I'd like to wish the Walled Lake Schools community a safe and enjoyable and a restful spring break, and I look forward to seeing you at one of our many school events and performances. At Walled Lake Schools, we care about every child. We promise to continue to educate every child, every day.